Slop is everywhere. It has filled our supermarkets, internet, and even the car industry. But what is slop when it comes to cars? Slop is something of low quality, not just bad design, but when a product gets worse in a way that is hidden behind trends, marketing, and innovation. It is when simple, useful things are replaced with complicated and flashy ones that don't actually improve the experience, but make it worse. It is basically bullshit being shoved down our throats, but covered with a bit of glitter so it doesn't look that bad. Let's start with the biggest lie automakers tell us today: safety. If you look at a brochure for a new car, you'll see a list of safety technology longer than a Harry Potter book. We have lane keeping assist, automatic emergency braking, blind spot monitoring, and 32 different airbags. But wait, let's look at the dashboard. Where are the buttons? Where did the volume knob go? Where is the slider for the air conditioning? They are gone, replaced by a giant iPad super glued to the center console. Now imagine you are driving on the highway. It starts to rain. You need to turn on the windshield wipers and defog the glass. In an old car, you reach out, feel a physical button, click it, and you're done. Your eyes never leave the road. In a modern car, this is the process. Look down at the screen, tap the home icon, swipe left past the Spotify app, enter the climate menu, tap the tiny digital icon for defrost while driving over a bump, which makes your fingers slip and accidentally turn on heated steering wheel instead. You are staring at a screen for 5 seconds while moving at highway speeds. How is this safe? It is not, it's pure slop. A study from the UK, published just a few years ago, found that using a touchscreen while driving slows your reaction time more than being drunk. And yet here we are, putting bigger and bigger screens in cars and calling it innovation. We have made texting and driving illegal, but car companies decided it is perfectly legal to put a 15-inch tablet in the dashboard and make you play a video game just to turn on the heater. When you ask the automakers why they remove the physical buttons, they give you a very innocent excuse. Screens are just more efficient. Removing buttons makes the car cheaper to build, and we pass those savings on to you. Ah yes, they are just trying to save us money. How generous of them. They removed a $2 plastic volume knob to keep the price down. But hold on a second, if they are so obsessed with saving money and making the car cheap and simple, why did they add motorized pop-out door handles? Have you seen those things? Instead of a normal handle that you pull, the handle is completely flat against the door. When you unlock the car, a tiny electric motor pushes the handle out so you can grab it. This is the ultimate contradiction. They tell us buttons are too expensive to put on the inside, but they install complex robotics on the outside just to open the door, and to make the car 0.01% more aerodynamic. Pop-out door handles are peak slop. They are a shiny gimmick designed to make the car look cool in a YouTube video, but in real world they are a nightmare. Do you live somewhere cold? Great! That flash door handle turns into a block of ice. The tiny motor cannot push it out. You are now locked out of your own car. What about safety? Let's say you get into an accident. The power goes out, the handles stay hidden inside the door. How are the paramedics supposed to open the door to rescue you? With a fucking crowbar? A traditional door handle is cheap, it never breaks, and it always works. The pop-out handle adds hundreds of dollars in cost, breaks easily, and is literally a hazard in an emergency. Buttons that improve safety and usability were removed to cut costs. Door handles that reduce safety and increase costs were added to look impressive. One of these decisions was about money, the other about marketing, and neither was about you. This is pure slop. Now let's talk about something even more strange: fake identity. Car manufacturers have started bringing back legendary names. Names that meant something. Names we looked up to when we were kids, hoping one day to own the cars carrying those names. When you say Mitsubishi Eclipse, certain people think of a small, low, sporty coupe from the 1990s, the kind of car that appeared in Fast and Furious before the franchise became about submarines. So Mitsubishi looked at that name, looked at the market trends, looked at what people were buying, and put that legendary name on a crossover SUV. The result was the Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross, a vehicle that shares nothing with the original Eclipse except the name. It is a tall, practical, and very bland family SUV. It is a perfectly fine vehicle, but it is not an Eclipse. But Mitsubishi is not alone. Ford looked at the Mustang, one of the most iconic sports cars in American history, a name that means raw power, a V8 engine, tire smoke, crowds, and they decided to make an electric SUV out of it. The Ford Mustang Mach-E is an electric crossover SUV. It has 4 doors, it has a big trunk, it is by most accounts a decent car, but it just isn't a Mustang. Even Honda is up to this slop trend. They recently brought back the Prelude, the legendary coupe of the 90s, a car that has a real cult following, because it was just that good. A classic, lightweight coupe that handled amazingly. The new one may look like it's following on its path, but it really isn't. It is now a hybrid paired to a CVT, and it even has less power than the old Prelude, which ended production almost 30 years ago. They aren't trying to sell the car, they are trying to sell the name. Because the name has value. It has a soul. And modern cars, they need that soul because many of them don't have any. So instead of building a car that feels special, they just borrow a name that used to be special. It's like putting a famous athlete's name on a random person and expecting them to run faster. It doesn't work like that. You don't create emotion by copying a badge, you create emotion by building something people actually enjoy. Another slop car makers are shoving down our throats are performance badges. In the past, if a car had an AM badge from BMW, an AMG badge from Mercedes, or an S badge from Audi, it meant something. It meant you had a powerful engine, upgraded brakes, and a car built for speed. It was special. Today, automakers will sell you the absolute cheapest 120 horsepower base model car, and for an extra $2,000, they will sell you the sport package. What do you get for this money? You don't get a bigger engine. You just get an aggressive looking front bumper, some stiff springs that ruin the ride quality, and a giant M badge on the steering wheel of a car that takes 11 seconds to reach 100 km per hour. They don't just stop at fake badges, they take this facade so much further. They talk about fake engine noise.
I'm gonna turn it on when you start driving here. Alright.
Modern cars are very insulated. You don't hear much from the engine anymore. Everything is quiet, smooth and filtered. So adding a bit of sound inside the cabin is fine. It can make the driving experience feel less empty. It's not perfect, it's still fake, but at least there is a good reason behind it. But then the automakers decided to take the fake noise outside. And this is where things get completely insane. First, we have the fake exhaust tips. Some cars have exhaust tips that are not even connected to anything. They are just decorations. Plastic shapes pretending to be metal pipes. And to be fair again, there are a few cases where this makes sense. Sometimes designers want a certain shape that real exhaust pipes cannot achieve. Sometimes the visible part is just a surround, and the real exhaust is hidden behind it, which is fine. But then you have cases where there is absolutely no excuse. Like when the fake exhaust tips look exactly like real ones. Same shape, same size, same position, except they're not real. At that point, it's not design, it's deception. Take the Audi S6. The S stands for sport. This is a serious performance car that costs serious money. You look at the back, you see 4 aggressive round exhaust pipes. But wait, get a little closer, look inside, they are blocked off. This is the ultimate slop. They aren't doing a cool futuristic design, they literally designed a fake piece of plastic to look exactly like a normal exhaust pipe. Why make a fake pipe that looks exactly like a real pipe? Just give us the real thing, or at least add some cool design. If that wasn't enough slop, they added a speaker in the exhaust system to make the car sound louder. Audi did this on their diesel S models. A diesel engine naturally sounds like a piece of farm equipment. Instead of accepting this, Audi installed a speaker near the real exhaust that loudly plays a fake V8 rumble to the people standing on the sidewalk. BMW committed the same crime with the i8. The BMW i8 is a gorgeous, futuristic hybrid spaceship, but under the hood it has a tiny 3-cylinder engine from a Mini Cooper. Instead of letting the car sound like the hybrid it is, BMW glued a speaker under the rear bumper to play aggressive engine noises to pedestrians. This is just peak slop, not improving the real thing, not embracing what the car actually is, but layering fake signals on top of it to create an illusion. So far, everything we have discussed has been about the physical car. The fake handles, the fake names, the fake sounds, the fake pipes. All of it is built into the vehicle and sold to you at the time of purchase. But car manufacturers look at all that and thought, we can do more. What if the slop was a service? Let us begin with subscriptions. Not software subscriptions, not a streaming service, a subscription for your car to do things it is already physically capable of doing. BMW started this conversation in a direct way, where they introduced heated seat subscriptions. Your car has heated seats. The hardware is physically present in a vehicle sitting on your driveway. But to turn the seat on, that costs €18 a month for a feature that already exists in a car you already own. BMW eventually rolled this back, but the fact that it was tried, that someone in a boardroom presented this idea and everyone in that boardroom nodded, and it moved through legal and marketing and engineering and launched it as an actual product. This tells you everything about where the industry is heading. And it gets even crazier with electric vehicles. Some luxury EV makers will sell you a car with a powerful electric motor, but they use software to restrict the horsepower. If you want the car to accelerate faster, you have to pay a yearly subscription to unlock the performance that the motor is already fully capable of producing. It's like buying a large pizza, but the delivery driver says you have to pay a $5 monthly fee to be allowed to eat the last 4 slices. It is pure greedy Slop, but paying monthly fees to use your car isn't enough. They also want to turn your vehicle into a giant rolling billboard. Automakers have actually patented technology to play advertisements directly on the giant infotainment screen they force you to buy. In fact, Jeep recently got caught doing this. Owners were driving their cars and suddenly a massive full-screen pop-up for an extended warranty appeared on the dashboard. You had to physically reach over and hit an X to close it, just like a spam website from 2004. When people rightfully got furious, the parent company rolled it back and claimed, "Oh, it was just a temporary software glitch." A glitch? Right. Because cars just accidentally design, format and broadcast full-screen marketing campaigns by mistake. It wasn't a glitch, it was a test to see what they could get away with. And this brings us to the data. Because the reason all of this is possible, the reason personalized ads in a car are a realistic near future scenario and not just a dystopian thought experiment, is that modern cars collect an extraordinary amount of information about their drivers. A massive study recently came out from the Mozilla Foundation, and it found that modern cars are the absolute worst product in the world for privacy. Worse than your smartphone, worse than your smartwatch, and worse than your smart home devices. Your car is basically a wiretap on wheels. Cars collect your precise location at all times. They collect your speed, your acceleration patterns, your braking habits. They collect when you drive, where you drive, how long you stay at each location. They can collect data from your phone when it connects via Bluetooth. Some cars have cameras and microphones inside the cabin that may be active while the car is in use. Some systems can infer things about your health from how you sit, how often you stop, how your driving patterns change over time. According to the study, some brands even collect incredibly personal details, up to your generic data and your sexual activity. This is not the car spying on you in a dramatic, movie villain sense. It is quieter and more bureaucratic than that. It is data flowing between companies, used to build profiles, adjust prices, target advertisements, and make decisions about you, your insurance rate, your credit score, the ads you see based on how you drove to work last Tuesday. A car used to be the ultimate symbol of freedom. You could get in, turn the key, drive anywhere, and nobody in the world knew where you were going. You are totally off the grid. Today, you are paying a monthly subscription fee to sit in a heavy, plastic-covered glass box that spies on you and tries to sell you an extended warranty at a red light. That is the definition of slop.